Says we're live.
Good
Got
morning.
that special point of view. Yes. Good morning to you.
A special point of view?
Yeah, the live button versus the preview button.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's true. It's true. So we're talking a little bit about Meyers-Briggs a couple months ago, and it exploded with interest, right? So I honestly don't have my Meyers-Briggs type memorized. I think that I was like, hey, let's do this because I, for whatever reason, took the Meyers-Briggs. And I'm trying to remember. Meyers-Briggs results. So what is your... Oh, it's because I spelled Myers wrong in the title and in the description of this wonderful video. I spelled Myers wrong. So it's because I have ADD. Because I have ADD.
Did you spell it wrong? Because I know that it's not spelt like Fort Myers.
Well, what I'm getting in my email is Myers. I was looking for Myers-Briggs results in my email. But how do you spell it? Let me see. Meyer. I think I added an extra E or something. Let me see. I'm just going to Google it.
Michael Millman's an INFP.
What's that?
I said Michael Millman inside the Art of Email Marketing is an INFP.
Cool. Well, this is interesting. I just found an email. Look at this. I just found an email in my inbox that I'd never read before that says, finally, a dating app that matches based on your Myers-Briggs type. Myers-Briggs type.
No kidding.
Look at that. So I'll read that later. So interesting.
Somebody stole your idea, huh?
Someone probably had the idea first, and I probably thought it was mine later. You know? Actually, that's a really interesting thing. The whole concept of idea theft, right? Maybe we should talk about that later. Maybe we should talk about it now. I don't know.
That's well, it's kind of all connected, isn't it?
In a way. Yeah. I mean, I was talking with a potential client the other day that didn't end up being the right match for our program. And I was talking with her, and she had spent 30 years perfecting her art, I'll say. It's not what her art, her craft, her thing. I'm not going to give it away what it is. And she very well paid to teach people one-on-one and in small groups her specialty skills, and works in the city, works with people that make a lot of money. You know, she's a very elite skill set, and she, because of COVID, her one-on-one lessons dried up completely, and it completely changed her business. And so she had been gun shy about going big, about launching her book, about launching her podcast, about doing video content, because she was afraid of potential lawsuits and things around her content. And it was really, really, really interesting because she was very scared. She was very scared of not only her getting sued because of, it's a volatile industry or whatever, but she was afraid of people stealing her ideas and then being able to go bigger with their stolen version of her idea than she could. Right. And I find that this is a mentality that a lot of inventors have, or would be wildly successful inventors who never tell anyone about their brilliant ideas because they're so afraid that someone's going to steal their ideas that they never do anything with it.
Yep. And I battle it personally myself from time to time in trying to make sense of it myself. Like, there's a tug of war with me personally. Like, like, I don't want to give too much away because then somebody will beat me to the punch. But at the same time, when I'm acting in I don't want to get cliche, but I will, an abundance-based mentality, I realize that first of all, nobody can steal my idea because it's like collective consciousness that, because I have it, somebody else is also having something similar at the same time, and they're offshoot. Now, I have had situations where my intellectual property gets outright ripped off, and that's just the way it is. At those times where you get stuck in that, the thing for me is to remember that the old Walt Disney world of quotes, that he's too busy innovating and creating new stuff to worry about the old stuff that people are copying off of him, because if you're copying what he's doing right now, it's the past already, because he's so far ahead on where he's heading. So that's when I can stay in that positive space personally. I can you are I'm just looking at I'm scrolling back through. I'm an INTJ. Well, I'm actually an INXJ, meaning that I have 50-50 on T and F on that. Like I have flipped back and forth, so I could be either. Mm-hmm. And like that. And you are, according to this, an INTP, which is close to Michael Millman.
It's interesting because I found an old school Google Doc where apparently my whole company took this. I don't even remember it. And I was an INFP. So that's an interesting flip. But yeah, Colin,
I've taken it like 4 or 5 times through at various stages of my life, and I've always been a mirror image. Either it shows up in the T or the F, and the ratios are exactly the same, like 13 to 7 and 7 to 13 when it flips. It's right. Really kind of spooky.
So Colin Therio says, my type is whatever type doesn't care about what a test says my personality type is.
That's awesome.
Are you in the cult of copy, Joshua?
I am not.
Dude, I strongly encourage you to join the Cult of Copy Facebook group run by Colin. It is astoundingly awesome. I know You don't spend a lot of time on Facebook outside of these live streams, but it's worth it. It's worth the daily distraction. So one thing that we found was a couple months ago when we asked the question, what is your type? For whatever reason, that video just exploded. Tons of people jumped on. Everybody was telling us their type. So first of all, what's your opinion on these types of tests, whether it's Meyers-Briggs, Kolbe, or otherwise? What's your type or your score if you have it? And if you hate this kind of stuff, talk about that too, right? We're very interested in your opinions and thoughts around this kind of stuff. I have found I really like these types of tests, in particular when I'm dealing with groups of people that I'm leading. Okay, when I'm in charge, and if I have a team, in particular in business and in particular employees, right? So a team of people that I am paying to help make, in most cases, my vision a reality, right? I want to know where their natural strengths and natural weaknesses are to the best of my ability. And you don't always have time to work with people for years and years and years when you're putting a team together. And to know where people are likely to succeed and where people are likely to fall down, right? So I really like these tests because it helps me to assemble better teams and be able to understand when people do what I perceive as stupid shit, when people do something dumb, like it's dumb, like why would you possibly do it that way? And then, oh, that's your Kolbe score. All right, I don't like that you made that choice, but at least I can understand where you're coming from. That for me, that's very helpful.
And if they know your Kolbe score, then they know exactly why you're calling them an idiot.
Right. So
you want me to say something?
No. So very curious about, do you, at the same time, it's like to Colin's comment.
Yeah, I'm in total alignment with what Colin said.
It's like, do you really want to put yourself into a little box? Is it really necessary?
Well, I think that's the danger zone, right? I mean, we were kind of talking about this before we started broadcasting, and that it can become an excuse. It can become a disguised way of playing victim,
Mm-hmm.
of shucking the responsibility because, well, my Meyers-Briggs says that I'm this, my Kolbe score says that I'm that, my Dan Millman profile, says that I'm this. So, this is just the way it is.
Right.
And like for me personally, I love these things, but the ones that have given me the most benefit, actually, I didn't discover till about 12 years ago, and it was through the Strength Finders stuff, and learning to focus in on instead of being a well-rounded entrepreneur, to be, as my friend Colin Collard says, fucking pointy. A pointy entrepreneur. Like the key is to be as pointy as hell and to embrace the point rather than trying to strengthen your weaknesses, because that's a temporary fix. And that really, really resonated with me. And then when I started to go through the strengths and just understand, oh, so that's why I'm showing up this way, and that's why I'm, and it really helped me to start to embrace what portions and when I access certain parts of my stupid human trick, and just understanding what that is, and how sometimes what I think is my stupid human trick really isn't, and I'm actually it's because of like my strengths. And yes, I have tried Perry Marshall's, Michael, and I like his as well. As a matter of fact, what I did with Perry's is I did a mirror and a crossover of his 80-20 and his 64-4 suggestions with my top 33 strengths on the Strength Finder, and I found that was really, really, really powerful for me to compare the two together.
Nice.
So, anyway, like that.
So it is really interesting because I find so often, I find that when I hang out with other driven, growth-oriented entrepreneurs, that they are one way, or whether or not they're competitive, as we've talked about a lot, they're achievement-oriented. And what I find is that if you want to be an extraordinary individual, by nature, you're going to have to be weak in some areas. And if you want to be a well-rounded, mediocre individual in all areas of your life, that's totally acceptable. But I find that there are a lot of people that are...
Boy, is that a leading question, Your Honor.
But I'll tell you what, there are so many people that are just willing to chill, that are just willing to sit back and like coast down the stream on the big inner tube, and they just don't want to do anything else. And I find it very interesting to talk about achievement and folks, and really focusing on your strengths with people that generally focus on being well-rounded, right, and balanced. And there is a lot of room for balance when you tend to go overboard in all sorts of other areas. I'm not saying that balance isn't valuable, but it's I don't know. I agree with you on the pointy thing. Like I prefer to be really good in a couple things, and like stuff that I suck at, I'm okay with that too. But excuses, right? How does that work?
I mean, okay, so like if you are pointy and embracing the point, and you know that you're not pointy in these areas, but you know that in order to get the whole thing done, then you still have to take responsibility for filling in where you're not pointy with something or
somehow you
someone
get taken care of. Exactly.
And you can't rely on just saying I'm not pointy
right
there. So just
Absolutely.
And just ignore it, because chances are real good that you need the different things in the areas that you're not pointy in, especially in marketing and business.
Or it's going to blow up in your face over and over.
It's going to be short-lived.
I can say that with absolute certainty. A lot of experience. Totally will blow up in your face. Sometimes it will blow up in your face even when you think you have it totally figured out. Yes.
Right.
Love those times. Love those times. So what about how do you deal with this is good, learning disabilities? So I don't know. First of all, I don't know if you even want to talk about this, but in terms
Yeah,
of
I do.
learning disabilities, what are you or aren't you diagnosed with, or what do you or don't you think you would be diagnosed if if you haven't taken a test for it? Like, do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, I was diagnosed, and I do have quote unquote learning disabilities. The funny thing for me, and why I'm smiling when you brought this up, is that the only reason I even use it is for marketing purposes.
Yes. Yes.
That's the only reason I share from that standpoint reality, because it's something that's true about me. But the interesting thing about that is that I did not know that I had them until I was graduated as number one in my class in high school, graduated top of my deal in trade school, and was looking to take the SATs to start college while I was still in trade school. And I knew that I hated reading. I knew that I was really slow at reading. I knew that my comprehension was different than everybody else. And rather than just take the Stanley Kaplan, which I ended up doing to prep for the SATs, my family suggested, hey, why don't you take some testing to find out, what areas you should, hone in on that are different for you, that are, and that was part of the well-rounded school of thought back then, right? So that you could get good at taking the test. And that's when I was diagnosed. So I didn't get diagnosed with learning disabilities until I was, I guess, like 2021, something like that. No, it was like 19 or 20, because I graduated high school at 17, and I went to trade school for 2 years and graduated trade school at 19. And it was in between trade school and college that I did that. And so it was useful, but I ended up telling all of the people that took the tests that they were full of shit, and that all it meant was that I learned differently. And guess what? We all learn differently. There is no universal way to learn, right? I mean, there are some things. So I embraced it. But when it came time to put my first marketing piece together for NPOD, is when I said, well, what's something that's unique about me, and why did I develop the product the way I did? Well, it was because it needed to work for me.
Right.
And so it made for a great marketing story. It made for a great conversation, and it got people off the subject of, well, you've got to be like really smart or really this or really that to be able to have success with it. I'm not you. Right. And, so I used it to that degree, and I still use it to that degree today. And also, I'm the first to acknowledge that it doesn't mean jack shit. And the other side of it is that whenever I take any of these, personality profiles or these things personally, I do it with the intention of self-discovery, to see, to get introspection on myself and see how I'm showing up, really how I'm showing up in the world with other people. Because what I get pissed at other people about, I've learned to discover that it's really, I'm pissed at myself, because it's my trait that I'm projecting outwards. And if I can, I just am blind to it, right? So that's my signal of trying to, take responsibility, not be a victim, and, step into that role personally. And by the way, I was diagnosed as ADD much, much, much later. And as a matter of fact, it was my good friend Colin Collard. He said, yes, you're ADD. All fucking entrepreneurs are ADD. That's kind of like a trait of all of us. Some of us are a greater or less degree, but yes, you are. So I started to look into it. And I remember Rich Sheffrin telling the story of when he was diagnosed, quote unquote, as being ADD, and how he was very resistant to it at first. So anyway.
No, it's very interesting. Okay, here's one for you. So I also And I've gotten better and better at this, but I've realized when I get angry, when I get frustrated, especially if I get to the point of like raising my voice, I've realized, oh, okay, I'm really reacting to something that I'm just reacting, complete reflex, and it's something that I'm overly sensitive to, right? So if I'm getting in any way emotionally agitated or out of control in a negative way, right? Just angry, upset, pissed, like find myself scowling at somebody, right? Then I'm like, okay, right? This is definitely my fault, right? I'm regardless of what they're doing, I'm being ridiculous. I found that once you've realized this about yourself, this is a very hard thing to tell someone else when they're yelling at you or when someone else is upset with you. It's a very challenging message to get across. How do you do that? Have you ever discovered a way of imparting this bit of wisdom on someone else in a way that
no, because my natural tendency is to react fire with fire.
Yeah, me too.
That's part of my come from. So, but when I can go back and think about the situation and how I was in automatic reaction, cat mode, step on the tail, without thinking and without any kind of conscious thought, I have the opportunity to make good on it and to correct that, not just for the relationship, which actually ends up being a tool to make it even better, because when you go back and you can see it for yourself and the other person's so pissed off and so upset with you for the way that you've been or whatever, and when you bring it up to them first, when you're in a calm state and you take responsibility for it and how you created that, it doesn't absolve them of their part of it, but it does allow you to let them be, like heard, and it deepens the relationship if you allow it to. But the gift on, like, for me personally, is that it allows me the consciousness of saying, oh, like, I did that, and see, like, in the future, I find that I am less triggered by those situations because I go and fix it in reverse, and acknowledge it and just, point it out, to myself and to others. And the problem that I now have, though, when I do that, is I'm still looking at the other. It doesn't absolve the other person of their part in it, but I want to prove to them why their part of it is all fucked up and wrong and right or whatever. And that's not useful for anybody. And that's another thing that perpetuates the same thing again and again.
Right.
And if I may be so bold to point something out to you, every time you say, when my staff fucks up, or when that type of thing, that's a form of that, because as you have it, they messed up. But how you have it is just how you have it wired. Right. It doesn't say anything about how they have it and their point of view. And really, at the end of the game, like I was taught something. I forget who taught me this, but it was like in the, like, right around 2000. But it's like, what is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? Like, what are you trying to have happen? And at the end of the day, when I ask myself that, like when I get into an argument with Kathy or whatever, well, do I want to make her wrong, or do I want her to be feeling loved? Right. And do I want to deepen our relationship? Well, at the end of the day, if that's what I'm looking for, then it shifts me entirely, because I'm not trying to argue to be right.
That's right. And often those are exactly those points where you have to fight against, or where I have to fight against, a lot of natural tendencies that would classify me in one of those little boxes, depending on the personality type that I took, where I should be reactive, or I should be easily agitated, or I should be, interrupting, or I should be thinking about 25 things at a time. Yet, what are you really trying to accomplish, right? Put in the extra effort sometimes, right?
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Like, what are you, what are you trying to, what would be an ideal outcome in this situation? What are you trying to, see happen? And it's such a useful question, because it also allows you to be objective and not be in the moment so much, and to say, all right, For me, it happens more after the fact, but as the more that I do it after the fact, then it becomes a better way of dealing in the fact.
So this is interesting. So what, it's a little bit of a jump, but what if we went and we looked at all the previous NPOD students and clients, and we were to ask ourselves, who built at least one successful business as a result of going through NPOD? And we called them all up. We're like, yo, what's your Meyers-Briggs type? Now, there are enough Meyers-Briggs, there's like 16 of them, right?
Yes, I believe so.
There are enough that it might be too watered down in terms of the number of people we can get in touch with and the number of people we can get to take the test. We might not be able to see a pattern. But I was just thinking about, I wonder what the natural patterns are for Kolbe, for Meyers-Briggs, or whatever, that indicate, pre-indicate someone that would be successful.
I think it's a rabbit hole that's not worth even going down, and here's why. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
True.
Idea.
True.
And that's number one. And number two is, until recently, I really didn't know all the profound impact that I did have.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about the few that I had become friends with. I knew about them, but like Ted, for example, I didn't know the impact that it had made on him. When I joined the Art of Email Marketing after you were pestering me for months and months and months, and you posted that crazy post, and all the people that started talking about how the marketing that I put together for NPOD and NPOD itself and how that had made an impact on them, I didn't know. I didn't have any clue the impact that it had made for people. So, I don't know that you can prejudge, what that looks like. And
Right.
I think you're going to find that, it comes from all walks of life. And when they're ready, they're ready. Plus the fact and that it's biased to begin with, because how I did my marketing is biased and slanted towards me. So it has a general appeal to people that are on the cusp of thinking like me at some point.
But that is part of what I'm looking for, right? Is not just people who are going to be successful. People that are going to be successful with NPOD, right? Specifically. I'm curious, and hey, maybe it is a rabbit hole that's not worth going down, but one that is worth going down is talking about the moments in time when the student is ready. And I know for me, I started my first business when I was 19 in my dorm room, and I was, I think, 27 when I went full force with NPOD, and between 27 and 28, spilling a little over into 29, basically had my first $1 million year, right? And so it was like, and the big thing is I was working on the business. We were starting to make some money. I was making more money than I had on a consistent basis with my internet business. But the reality is I didn't make $1 million, and I didn't really blow it up with NPOD until I found out I was going to have our first, we found out we were going to have our first child. And that, like, as cliche as it is, that's what happened. I didn't realize
it a fire, sure.
Time, but that's what happened, right? My focus, my motivation, my ability to prioritize because of that sense of urgency and importance, and okay, it's time to stop screwing around. Everything came into focus. What are some other areas that you've seen that are not necessarily cataclysmic, but very important life events that can happen that can cause that shift for people to all of a sudden say, okay, now it's time to follow the treasure map, right? Now it's time to go after this.
It's very funny because I'm getting ready to issue or reissue as a what do you call it, a customer service or a way of helping people out in the pandemic. I'm getting ready to re-release the IFL products. And so I'm going back over the sales letters and the marketing pieces and that I did, and I'm adapting it for this particular situation. But the whole thing that struck a chord with me, and it relates directly to your question there, is defining moments in our life. And sure, having or know that you were expecting is a defining moment, but that doesn't necessarily work for everybody all the time. Right. So it's your, it's first of all, it's what you consider to be a defining moment in your life, whatever that looks like. Like for me, it was, when my dad gave me an unexpected Christmas gift, Hanukkah gift, and then asked for it back. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And I made some very profound decisions. Another defining moment was when I was checking out at the supermarket and I was 5 cents short for being able to pay for my groceries for that week of my 9 for $1 ramen noodles, a dozen eggs, and some frozen vegetables, which was what I was living on, that I actually couldn't, the woman in back of me wanted to give me the nickel to check out so that she could, it was a favor, and my pride would not let me accept the nickel from her. And I left the groceries and I was like embarrassed, and I just hauled ass out of the store and went to a shop in a different store from then on. That was another defining moment for me that became a spark. The thing that I think is that going to be your excuse to be crushed? Or is it going to be the ignition point, the spark that you're going to use to propel you as a reason why you're never going to be in that situation again? Or that you're going to use as a driving point to empower you forward? The pandemic is a forced defining moment in all of our lives. It's shifted everything. The question is, are you going to use it to, propel you as a reason for, moving forward to the next level and overcoming it, or are you going to get crushed by it? And it's the same situation. It's just that. So for me, it comes down to the defining moments and how we choose to be influenced by them.
That's right. It's true. It's true. Are you going to look at those times where you have to shift as an opportunity shift or a massive letdown because you didn't get what you wanted in the first place, right? It's very, very interesting stuff. I was just, as you told that story, I was reminded of a story I used to tell all the time called the dreaded double beep. And I had webinars, I had sales letters and sales videos all based on the dreaded double beep. And the dreaded double beep was...
I'm intrigued.
I was a hypnotist. I was doing hypnotherapy. I was trying to build my hypnosis offices, and knowing that I also really wanted to escape that and wanted to sell hypnosis CDs online, and all these things were going through my head. But at the end of the day, I was working my ass off. But I had not yet gotten my offices full. Okay, I was still barely scraping by. And this is before I had figured out what I call the mini practice model, which is how I really built out my whole business. And so I had a no-show for my hypnosis client. I had a no-show. And so I was kind of irritated about that. But I said, I'll go have lunch. And so I went downstairs to Amy's Cafe, which was in the same building as my hypnosis office and apartment, which was the same place, I want to point out. And I went downstairs and I ordered the lunch special, which was a cup of soup and a half a sandwich and like a cup of coffee or something. And I didn't have any cash. And so I went to pay for this. It was less than $10. I went to pay, and the only thing I had was my bank card, my debit card. And I got the double beep. I got the reject on the $10 purchase at the bakery that was below my apartment. And I was just so embarrassed. I was like, I had to borrow money from a friend on the street in order to pay my lunch while I was wearing a tie, and I was just like, I am such an asshole. And that was a defining moment that really, but what happened, Joshua, was in my mind, as you were talking, I have to say that I went on a crazy tangent in my head because I realized that I have a decade of amazing marketing stories and materials that I haven't tapped back into since we really started shifting back to teaching, or since I shifted back to teaching people email marketing and list building again on a larger scale. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many award-winning, proven presentations and sales videos
that happen to be true.
What's that?
That happen to be true. I mean, it's not just a good marketing pitch.
I forgot about because I've only been doing the hypnosis stuff for the last 9 years, and so I just remember.
I'm exactly the same way as I start going through all the stuff, and I start, holy shit! Like I totally get what you're saying right now.
Yeah, it's like gold mine. So really excited to start retelling some of those old stories. It's really good. Cool.
Awesome.
Well, guys, if you are the student and you really want to learn this email marketing stuff, you want to build an audience, you want to build a list, you want to build a following of people that you can sell your products and services to, whether you're a coach or a consultant, a business owner or a serial entrepreneur, perhaps even a freelancer or a salesperson that's looking to shift your business from the one-to-one to a one-to-many environment. It's actually my daughter's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Lightning.
Lightning's turned 9 today. And so I actually don't have a ton of time this week, but I do have a handful of private session consultation appointments available. So if you want to know how to do this stuff, if you're ready to really expand your following and grow your business and get some leverage in ways that you haven't before, as well as creating a truly automated system for lead generation and a sales process that will do the heavy lifting for you and really take all that day-to-day work off your shoulders, then I think you might really like what we have going on. So if you're interested in learning list building, interested in really building your list and building your platform, building your audience, then go to letstalkprivately.com. I don't think I have my super secret high-tech.
Let me see if I can bring mine up.
Oh yeah, I'll just
a little big there.
There we go. We'll just do a little of that. Let's talk privately.com. I guess we could go back there. Yeah.
Here, I can make it even smaller. Hang on.
I'm hanging.
Don't go away, mad. Just go away.
Let's talk. So yeah, if you want to chat about that, if you're interested in really mastering this art, then I would be more than happy to chat with you, and we could talk about what you're working on, the goals for you and your business that you have right now. And if our process will help you, then we'll tell you all about it. And if not, then I will point you in the direction of someone or something that would be more aligned to what it is you're working toward as an entrepreneur and a business owner. Awesome, Joshua. Great connecting on this.
I just wanted to acknowledge Max Cantor about I'm not really sure what we were talking about, but he said, yes, years ago when I was younger, I would stutter when I read aloud. But if I put on a pair of headphones, I couldn't hear myself.
I was speed reading.
Oh, wow. That's wild, man. I
was just reading an article about some of the new brain science behind stuttering and some of the new discoveries around that. But one thing I hadn't ever heard of before was the relationship between stuttering and speed reading. That's fascinating. Very fascinating. I think that came up while we were talking about learning disabilities.
Yeah. Cool. And I believe it's, I'm probably not pronouncing this right, but Tana is a proud ENFP. So I just want to acknowledge the joy and love that people are giving us while we went on our monologue tangents that were intriguing to us, but maybe not interesting to other people.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Tana. Thank you, Max, Michael, and everyone else that's joined us here today. All right. I think we're going to wrap. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan, man.
Rock and roll. Over and out.
Later.
Toodaloo.